Now, as some of you know, Arsenal have signed Timber from Ajax. He's a fantastic player, I think, and he's a player that will be perfect for the Mikel Arteta system. I don't think he's all the way there yet, but throughout the course of this short video, let's see exactly, his strengths, potential weaknesses. Now, as you just see in this clip, that was ruled out with offside, but I do think he struggles sometimes positionally. Sometimes I think he struggles in the air, and he has an element of overplaying. I don't expect a 22-year-old to be the finished article. I'm just painting a picture. With Mbappe's goal here, at Ajax and Netherlands, it's not the best of defensive systems, but in this game, he was a right back and Mbappe was a left winger. In this clip here, I simply think, in the clip about to come, I think he could do a lot better. He's not tight enough to kill Mbappe's body positioning is all wrong. I just alluded to aerially, he can get caught flat-footed. Sometimes I think he plays a lot of the opponents onside. And, reports out of Holland kind of claim physicality and adapting to the Prem could be a concern or a problem for him. I expect him to struggle in some aspects and excel in others. He's a good player. Sometimes I also feel he's a bit rash, but I think that's a great strength. He's a very front-footed defender. He's very aggressive. He wants to win the ball. He wants to make the difference. As I said, weaknesses are not necessarily concerns. As you can see there, he was sold short by a teammate there. So yeah, these are just standard things, really. I would say positioning needs to improve immediately. Rashness, because we know in the Premier League, there'll be issues. In this image here, he's playing people on side and he's not aware of the runners. He's got two men here. And as I said, with Ajax and Holland, he's not necessarily in the best of defensive systems, but we only care about Timber. In this example, you can kind of see what I'm alluding to here. He gets caught kind of following the ball. That being said, he does have a lot of strengths, people. Again, you can see him in that inverted right back role. You can see what he brings to the table in that regards. High technical level, strong ball carrier, can improve his decision making in the final third. I think he's got a fantastic temperament. The man is never overawed. There's a lot of talent in this young lad, and I think this is firmly a great acquisition from Mikel Arteta. And you can see how he could at times fill in at centre half, but also at times do the inverted fullback role, and he's very good at it for what it's worth, really. Sometimes I think he can overplay, but as I said, these are things you'd expect a 22-year-old to have in his game. As you can see with these images, you could see exactly how he'll tie into the front-footed nature of how Arsenal Football Club play. Strong ball carrier, a confident ball carrier. He's someone that will make a mistake and attempt the same thing again. As I said, he's not foolproof. There's a lot of things he can work on in his potential game, people. Again, the passing. Now, with every footballer, you can go through all their games and find clips, but this is just to paint a picture of, to go to the next level, things he can improve upon. Again, that needs to be cuter, that needs to be crisper. In the Premier League, you don't get that much margin for error. Again, everybody makes mistakes, but as you can see in this image, or better yet, images and videos, it's just about us gaining a better understanding of the man. I think he'll be a great signing for Arsenal. Obviously, he'll need time to adapt to what Mikel Arteta demands of him collectively and individually, adapt to the physicality, the pace of the Premier League, because as you know, in Holland, you're not going to get that long on the ball. As you can see, shows a bit of naivety at times, and that's going to happen when you're a progressive ball-playing centre-half / full-back, people. Now, as I said, you can find clips like this for just about anybody, but we're not just trying to find anybody. We're trying to paint a picture for you guys as to, just how good he is. I thought, let me try and do a different sort of video. My editing skills are not the best. I will promise, like Timber, to improve for you guys, people. But I like him. I like his confidence. I like his willingness to defend. I like his ball playing ability. I think he's got a lot of qualities. And as I said, I think this is a great signing for Arsenal Football Club for a good fee. I think his transfer value will double in years to come. As I said, in the air really, you could probably, if you was playing against him, that's probably one of his shortcomings. So again, dealing with aerial threats and stuff like that are an issue with his. Sometimes a bit, as I said, I like aggressive defenders, but sometimes can be a bit too aggressive. A part of defending is not always about necessarily winning the ball. Sometimes it's about managing the situations, people. As you can see here, an issue of his is playing everybody on side, and sometimes he doesn't necessarily look over his shoulder, which is maybe why, you can still do it at fullback, but maybe why at this moment in time he might be geared towards having a better future for the short term at right back, people. As you can see, I say positioning and in the air are two of the greatest things he can improve sooner rather than later. In the final third, his final ball can improve. But as I said, these are all areas of development. And these are all areas that Mikel Arteta has to know better than us how to make him improve, really and truly. if I'm completely honest with you. Nobody that we're signing is going to be the finished article, bar the occasional players. You know, Havertz isn't, Declan Rice isn't, as great as he is, Timber isn't, you know, Jesus wasn't, Zinchenko wasn't, and the list goes on, people. Again, heading needs to improve. Because if I was playing against him in the Premier League, or if I was managing against him in the Premier League, you would probably try and put balls over the top. But he makes up for it with good recovery pace and a willingness to defend. And to be fair, the systems he's in promote him to go forward. So naturally, you're going to get caught short. As you can see, he loves to go into central midfield, and the man himself actually says he can play in midfield as well, folks. So yeah, it's not all about weaknesses or just necessarily strengths. Once again, it's just about painting a full picture for you guys, people. As you can see, a bit of naivety there with his skill. Again, as I said, if you're going to advance forward, you need to pick a better option in the final third. Weaknesses, again, he overplays at times, can play people on side, can be very rash in the tackle, can overplay once again. But these can all be worked upon, really and truly. These can all essentially be worked upon. These are not necessarily errors or glaring mistakes and things like that. These is just where he's at this moment in stage in his career, people. As I keep saying, and I want to bang the point home, you're not going to be the finished article at 22 years of age, or the vast majority of footballers aren't. There's, you know, unless you're Lionel Messi and people of that ilk, you're an exception rather than the rule. So with that being said, and looking at his weaknesses, and again, a short clip of him once again playing people on side, folks, let's look at his strengths. As you can see, a very good strong ball carrier, a very good dribbler. I'm sure maybe in his youth days, before it became clear he might not cut the grade better yet, in further forward positions, a bit like Saliba. I'm pretty sure, without doing my research, he must have played further forward in his youth days. Really like his technical quality. He backs himself. You can see how he would tie into a back three out of possession defensively, how he would be inverted, how he could play as a standard fullback and bomb forward. And I think, like Benjamin White, you know, Saka is going to love playing with Timber, really and truly, and that gets the best out of people. Obviously, his signing, in theory, with the greatest of respect to Benjamin White, maybe means that we don't have to leverage the fact of Zinchenko being an inverted fullback and can, you know, have the both of them or have one of them. Very good ball dribbler. I do think he's going to go for a bit of a culture shock in the Premier League, because, you know, if you can, football is football. If you can do this in Holland, you can do it in the Premier League. However, I don't think he'll have this much time to think. As we know, the Premier League is aggressive, people. But he's a typical Dutch player. He's a typical player that you would think has been educated at Ajax and at Feyenoord, people. And as you can see, him drifting into midfield once again. So this isn't anything new. Again, doesn't need a license to carry the ball forward. So firmly in line with the remit of what Arsenal Football Club are trying to recruit as a player, people. You know, and here you can see in the clips against Dortmund, again, sorry if the images are slightly distorted. As I said, this isn't a strength of mine. I'm just trying to improve and diversify the thing. And I like his temperament. You can tell he's a lad that, naturally, he's human. You know, you're going to, you know, be nervous at times and things like that. But his temperament, you can tell he's not overruled. You can tell he's doesn't not believe in himself. He's just got the perfect temperament, man. And as we know, as much as it's about technical level, it's also about mentality and attitude and all the facets that us fans aren't exclusive to know him, really and truly. Probably overplayed there, but again, I like the willingness. I like the way he shields the ball. I like the way he backs himself, people. There will be times, undoubtedly, he's caught in possession. There'll be an occasional mistake, and a lot of his shortcomings will be highlighted. Equally, so will his good things, people. As you can see here, backs himself, doesn't panic. And again, I keep saying it, this is clear to see just why Mikel Arteta wants him within the team, people. And you could see him cutting serious mustard at Arsenal as a fullback, people, and having a great career in that regards. And in a nice way, it's good news for Saliba, and it's also good news for Benjamin White, but it's also bad news because I'm sure he doesn't want to sit on the bench with obviously Holland in the Euros at the end of the season to come, as I'm sure Benjamin White and Saliba don't. So why we get the best of both worlds is that A, we get depth, we get quality players, we get players pushing, and also, again, if players coming into this club can't raise the level of the starting 11 or the squad, make sure it doesn't drop down. And I think personally we've got some great defensive options now. Kirill looks like he's getting stronger and stronger. Timber hasn't kicked a ball for Arsenal at the time of making this video, but I think there's a lot to like about him. Saliba's calmness and his quality speaks for itself, as does Benjamin White, Gabriel, Tomiyasu, Kieran Tierney if he stays, so on and so forth, people. Again, while I think his final ball can improve, there's also times it's undoubtedly paid off. You know, you're never going to get the praise for that, but he started the move. And I like, again, I think his aggressive nature and his front-footedness could harm him, but it's also a benefit. I like aggressive defenders, people, and I think you need to be aggressive in the Premier League, but also you need the calmness, a bit like Van Dijk in his prime. He oozes calmness, but he knows when to get tight to his man and when to be aggressive. And, you know, you've seen what Mikel Arteta has done with several players within our team. So I expect not just this season, but in seasons to come, whatever the duration of his contract is, to show his quality and crucially get better and better and better. As I said, he does switch off at times, and for me does like to focus a bit too much on, you know, playing football and passing and all of that, but he's shown a willingness to defend. And the man himself, you know, when you hear in his interviews and how he speaks, he's someone that knows where he's at right now, great last-ditch tackle, and how he can improve to get to the next level, much like everybody at the football club. And if he wasn't at the football club, we all know Mikel Arteta is going to get rid of you folks. Again, doesn't need a license to bomb forward. End product, the pass could have been a bit better there. He's forced his fullback out wide, really, and that's a good finish from the striker, to be fair. So it was probably the best of passes there. Great last-ditch defending, and I'm sure, while no one, myself included, is an expert on Timber, he's a signing I'm very happy about, and he's a signing that we've seen play for Holland at the World Cup, play in the Eredivisie, win the Eredivisie, blossom in partnership with Martinez. As you lot know, Ajax had an underwhelming season last year on all fronts, and Timber suffered as a bulk of that, really. And they, you know, I do think he missed, like the whole team missed a partnership with Lisandro Martinez. The only thing I could see is I don't know if he'll play centre half too often for Arsenal Football Club, but they said the same about Lisandro Martinez, and despite being about 4'10", Lisandro Martinez doesn't show it, and he shows it in his aggressiveness. That's something I think will be key for Timber. I can see him picking up a couple bookings and unnecessary fouls, because in the Premier League, you know, you get booked or not booked for less than that, really. But I like him, man. I really do think he's a good player, man. I really am happy. I think Declan Rice raises the curtains of our midfield. I'm intrigued to see what Kai Havertz brings to the table. And I do think internally within the Arsenal fan base, because we've seen Havertz and we've seen Rice, I do think the signing of Timber is quite underrated, if I'm completely honest with you, really. As you can see, he knows when to put a foot in as well, and he's by no means a bad defender. Quality stuff, essentially. Shown to chip in with literally not even a handful of goals. That's not a strength of his, you know. And again, I want his end product to improve, because, you know, fullbacks at Arsenal Football Club are basically creative midfielders, as you see with Zinchenko, hopefully with Timber. We've kind of seen Tomiyasu, bit conservative as a footballer, but play the inverted role. We've seen in pre-season Kyrgios look to do that, and also towards the back end of last season. You can see why he ranks so high for progressive passes and the rest of it, people. And for me, he loves to step into midfield, which could also give license to other players to stay further up the pitch and have the confidence when him and Declan Rice and Partey and all them players are on the pitch, to have the faith to know we've got defensive numbers to do what, you know, they're paid to do. Because if you're in the final third, you're paid to get goals and assists and make the difference in that regards, folks. Really. Again, lovely fullback, and as the proud founding member of the fullback union, I wish him all the best. Great tackle there, if I'm honest with you lot. So yeah, man, there's a lot to like about Timber, essentially. Again, as you can see, the end product can improve. Good willingness to defend in that regard. If he could just improve his rashness, his positioning, and in the final third, I think we've got a good player. The only glaring thing I would say is his positioning. He is known to play people on side. That's the only thing that might harm him in the intermediate term. Obviously, in relation to Mikel Arteta, I don't know how he's going to shape up his side. I don't know if Timber will be in the starting 11 from game week 1, but he's someone that is going to put evident pressure on positions, people. Predominantly right-footed, has shown he'll run into the left-hand channel if he's playing over there, and the man himself has even said he can play in midfield as well as obviously centre-half and right-back. And as we know, Mikel Arteta has brought several multifunctional players to this football club, you know, and it's crucial to have players like that that can actually do it. The Zinchenko's, the Tomiyasus, the Gabriel Jesus's, the Martin Odegaards, the Declan Rice's, the Trossards, the Martinellis, and so on and so forth, Kyrgios even, and there's many other player that I probably haven't even said. Really, we've even seen Partey play right back under Arteta, which we hope that isn't the case, because as much as you need a quality 11, you need squad depth. And, you know, when Partey hasn't been involved, if Xhaka hasn't been involved, if Zinchenko hasn't been involved, Saliba's injury, I think it's lazy to just simply blame these moments as to why our season didn't end the way we would have liked to have had. But we can't go through that again, really. We saw it last season, and we actually saw it in the season before where we missed out on Champions League football, that, you know, a couple of injuries can make or break us in crucial moments. Great tackle there from Timber, as you lot can see there. Great bravery from him there. I do think he turns his back a bit too much in those moments, and you don't really want to see that, essentially, folks. But backs himself in possession, doesn't panic, isn't overawed, and once again, people, is a great addition. You know, let me know your thoughts on what we've seen so far. Don't forget to smash the like button and let me get some feedback on this vid. I know it isn't perfect, people, but I'll try to improve. If you lot like this sort of content, then I'll get more out for you. As you can see there, backs himself in many situations where our Sunday League wannabe footballers or ex-wannabe footballers would have panicked. That's a decent pass, to be fair with you. And as I said, I'm not showing his weaknesses or strengths to praise him or necessarily big him up. It's just a painting on his picture. I think he's a player that is good, with the potential to be great if he works on these things, much like all of us in our personal lives, folks, really. And as you can see with these clips, he wants to play. He wants to play football. He's on this Jogo Bonito thing. You'd expect, you know, any Dutch player that isn't like that, there'd be serious problems, wouldn't there, essentially, people? Essentially, really, you know. Again, look at it. So cultured, so calm, so cool, so collective, and aggressive when the time requires. So there's a good base level. There's, you know, it's like you've got the ingredients to a perfect meal. It's just about cooking that meal to make sure you obviously enjoy it when it's time, you know, time to do such, people. In this clip, you can see him against Darwin Núñez, of Liverpool, where he's kind of coped, and you can see areas where he could improve. I only showed this because you're going to be playing the likes of Haaland, Núñez, Kane, Salah, and many on, and to be fair, even players that aren't them. Essentially, there's no easy games in the Premier League. You've got target men, you've got false nines, you've got players that are a bit of the two, you've got players that will, like Jesus, that he won't, well, he will be in training, but they'll drop deep and stuff like that. And it's all about reading the situations, people. But, you know, there was a game I can remember, I think Liverpool battered Ajax, but in this game, he done okay, regardless of the scoreline, really. And I looked for these footages in particular because the Darwin Núñez, the Haalands of this world, you know, not that they just rely on their physicality, but it is a physical challenge, essentially, folks. So it is what it is. And for selfishly, Liverpool, unless someone can update me, they play in the Premier League, which is in England. These are the sort of teams you'll be playing week in, week out, where the margin for error is less, really. But I'm so happy to have Timber at the Emirates, and I'm keen to see just what Mikel Arteta has in store for him. You know, I wouldn't rule out, I don't think in the immediate future he'll play in midfield, but he has said he can play in midfield. Mikel Arteta and the coaching and recruitment staff have to have seen his quality there. While I think we need a midfielder, if you've got Fabio Vieira, Odegaard, Zinchenko, Smith Rowe, Timber, players that can all play there, you know, whether they will or not's another thing. Maybe there's not the case of, maybe the case, better yet, of signing a midfielder isn't as deep as you, I, or anyone else that feels how we feel, you know, about signing another central midfielder. Maybe it's not as strong on Arsenal's case. To be fair, we've been linked with strikers and wingers in recent thingies. As you can see there, it's not just him, but selfishly we're looking at him. He does get caught flat-footed from aerial duels there, people, and that's where we're in trouble there. But he did all right for that one, didn't he? And he's a player, you can see why he was linked with Liverpool. You can see why he was linked with Man United. You can see why Mikel Arteta signed him. You can see why he's highly rated in the Dutch game, people. You know, he could actually have a future in midfield. I just don't know if you was consistently relying on him to build up play in that sixth position, for example, if that would be then defined as a strength of his. But based on what we're seeing, you can't say it's not. Look at that run. Lovely little run. Unfortunately, the shot showed why, like all of us, you end up as a fullback in it, but you can't have it all. But there's a lot to like about young Timber, really and truly, folks. And again, you can see more extended footage of him here. So yeah, good player. Dodgy touch there, got out of jail, but it's cool. Showing his passing range and progressive passes, he ranks quite high. Here's him a few years ago up against Haaland and Dortmund, people, where he's done okay. There's Jude Bellingham now of Real Madrid. There's the first duel. He's got a knock on it. He didn't get there before Haaland, but got there just in time. Not going to beat Haaland in the air too much there, and not the best of defending from Ajax there, but got out of it. Again, you can't read too much into clips and things, but it just helps you to paint a picture with obviously keeping the context that anybody can find anything over 90 minutes and create a clip, you know, to suit what agenda serves them. My only agenda is to somewhat help to paint a picture for you on our third. No, well, he would rank second of our summer recruits, because wasn't it Kai Havertz through the door first, then obviously Timber, and then obviously Decky boy Declan Rice. Not the best of passes there. As I said, it's about, again, another weakness I could say is probably just an added layer of focus is required. But he's 22. The older you get as a footballer, the more cool, calm, collected and calculated you become, and proactive in terms of speed of thought. So he's at the right stage of his development, in line with everybody who's at Arsenal Football Club. You know, we've got some good players, but nobody's the finished article. If you ask any Arsenal player, bar the Jorginhos, the Elnenes, the Partes, the exceptions to the rule, you know, I'm talking about the core group of the boys, you would probably hear them say that they haven't reached their full potential. So, you know, Timber's in the right place, under the right manager, I believe, to help him establish that. Allegedly, there was also interest from Manchester City in acquiring his services. Not quite sure on the level of interest or if that correlated to a bid, but it is what it is there, people. I don't think he'll play centre-half too often for Arsenal Football Club, but if he is to, I think he could do well there. But if it's a game that requires physicality and getting tight to your man, clearly Gabriel and Saliba are more able to do that. I do think he's more suited to right back. I would rank right. He's obviously at home as a centre-half, but from what I see of him, I think right back first, centre-half second, and then third midfield. But the more I see it, I'm more convinced of you playing in midfield than consistently at centre half, really and truly. But saying that, you know, he's going to improve physically and things like that. I think he's a quality centre half in the making, and he can be whatever he wants as long as he's willing to improve, learn and develop, really. As you can see, another aerial contest. You know, Haaland didn't really contest that, but nonetheless, Timber won it there, really and truly, people. And one thing I like, you know, if you're playing for Arsenal Football Club, it's fun and games asking for possession, making passes when you've got 20 million years on the ball. You have to want to play in tight spaces. You have to want the ball where a team is pressing you high, not allowing you out of your position, which Timber has shown he wants it in certain areas. As you can see here, we'll try and pick out teammates, not the best of passes, but it made it to an Ajax colleague. So you can live with that, essentially. So, yeah, man, I think we've got a good player in the making here at Arsenal Football Club. As you can see here with some statistics, people, Arteta's desire to get on the ball and have his centre-halves play out from the back is a key reason behind our interest in Timber. Apparently, he ranked top for both passes per game and stuff like that. As you can see in more, you know, other statistics here, really and truly, to paint a picture, he finished top for both passes per game and passes accuracy in the Eredivisie last year. He played more passes in the final third than any other centre-back in Europe's top 7 leagues last year. Here, for your own reading, you can see how he compares individually to Saliba and Benjamin White. Here you can see the many ways in terms of the build-up play he could be used at Arsenal Football Club, whether he's in a makeshift back three in-game, playing as a conventional right back, or inverting, really. Again, not to scale and things like that, but you can see exactly why he would be a key player. As you can see here, the man himself has said, I'm really excited, especially now I'm here. Everyone is so nice, and you can see it's a big club. I'm excited to play for this beautiful club. I can't wait to start and to see the fans, obviously, in the stadium. He hasn't actually said he has a favoured position. He said, I think that I'm lucky to say that I can play as a central defender, as a right fullback, sometimes even on midfield. So I think that's a good thing, and I need to keep that. I just like the way Arsenal plays, a bit similar to Ajax's system and style, and I like to play out from the back. I can see a lot of similarities, especially in the way Arsenal and Ajax play. So the man, I'm sure he would say something different, but there you have it. Van Dijk has praised his fellow countryman and said, I wasn't nearly as far along as he is now. I have nothing but praise for him. He's a great player and a true professional. He has so much potential. Hopefully he can develop further. Then he'll be all right, I think. Which is very high praise from a centre-half who's done a lot. There are some concerns initially, people. Again, Jaap Stam, apologies, once said the intentions of the trainer, Ten Hag, this is in relation to when Timber, thankfully for Arsenal fans, was actually linked with a move to Man United. He has said, the intentions of the trainer Ten Hag are molded to Timber, but make no mistake, this is the Premier League. There you can't always be dominant. You have to do more against strikers like Harry Kane and Haaland. Even with Lisandro Martinez, was also curious about that. It turns out that he did it. With Timber, I just miss a certain amount of aggression, sometimes even being a little mean in his game. Could be a bit meaner, I hear that. But I think he's fairly aggressive, and that's something that could be worked upon. That's also, for example, in giving the first blow before the real duels come. Martinez does, you can learn that too, but it has to be in you. Fair enough. I think there's a lot that he could probably ask his former centre-half and teammate Lisandro Martinez to learn. But fortunately for him, he's got to learn it on his own back. As you can see, some more information for you lot. And when you look at it here, for tackles won, he got 86%. For passing accuracy, 91.6%. For aerial duels, 47.4. And as you know, we signed him for 38 million quid, people. And he led the Eredivisie last season for successful passes with 2,500. For successful forward passes with 731. For passing accuracy, he ranked 91.7. Progressive carries, 487. Carry progress, 4,038 meters. So there's a lot to like. You can see the base level that he has within his game, why Mikel Arteta would want to sign him. All in all, we've got a good player with the potential to be great. I'm ecstatic out of his signing. Out of 10, I would give it a strong 7 or 8 if I'm honest with you. Let me know your thoughts on what you feel about Timber. One love, folks. Timber, one love, folks. Timber, one love, folks. Timber.